think finally everything has worked out. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my voice. Okay, finally. Oh, nothing goes wrong from there. Great. So once again, welcome back. Good evening. So as I was saying, how to introduce yourself. So we all introduce ourselves differently to people whom we know, whom we don't know. It all depends on where we are, correct? But the general format, the basic etiquette on when you work in a workplace, or when you are going to meet someone of importance, or whether it is in a placement scenario. So whenever you're going to sit, and if somebody is going to come to you and you want to introduce yourself, the basic etiquette is to stand up. Now, when it is with friends, when you joined your college for the first time, I'm sure none of you would have stood up, but we are supposed to stand up, which indicates a sign of respect. And eye contact, very, very important. We already saw its importance. So when we look a person in the eye, it instantly builds trust and it shows that you're a person of like confidence. And when we introduce, we generally say our name and that's it. Probably in our college, we say our name and department and that's it. When you meet someone for the first time in your hostel or anywhere, that's what we do. Now, in a professional setup, it is always nice to say something about yourself and your name. But again, don't tell them the name of your dog that you have or your favorite show. No. So the basic courtesy is just your full name and what do you do. So here, the main takeaway is we are supposed to stand up and look the person in the eye. Because lots of times what happens is whenever people join a company or wherever there is the first time, they often don't know this. So the other person may take offense, especially if they are a person in superior ranks. So this is the standard way. Now we live in a post-COVID-19 world, which means lots of our interviews and placements will happen online. So when you do that, what are you supposed to do? Now there is a very strong connection between your body language and your attire. So generally what happens is, for example, let's say you are going to make a presentation and you're not dressed formally. How do you feel? Okay, in general, when you're not dressed properly, when you go to a relative's function or an important event, when we feel that we are not dressed properly, what happens? How do we feel? We don't feel so confident, isn't it? So why does this happen? Because the way we dress and the way we feel our confidence, all of this has a strong connection to how we react and people reacting to us as well. For example, let's say you're going to make a speech for your symposium or inauguration or any place of importance. So usually what happens is if you're not dressed properly, you will not be even confident to speak properly. And even then, even if you speak, the audience, the people who are listening to you are not going to take you seriously. Which is why you see all these salespeople or any person or any entrepreneur, they're always dressed sharp because the first impression, people judge others based on the way they dress and the body language and so many other things. So since we live in a post-COVID-19 world, it is important to wear formals. But what happens usually? Now, let me ask you a question. Do you have to wear formals completely? Because in a webcam, people can see only the first half of your physique. So, do you need to be dressed formally entirely, or is the upper half enough? So, that is the question. So, what do you think? Anyone? Yeah, you can tell me honestly. What would you do? Yes, generally, if you are lazy, you would not bother about to dress in formals completely. So, but is it really important to dress to wear formals completely? So that is the question. So what do you think? Yeah, you can unmute and tell me, or you can just simply type in your chat. I also want to make sure. Okay. Krupa says should be dressed properly. Oh, why? Only the first half is seen by the HR or any person, right? Why should we dress completely? What is the purpose of even wearing the entire attire? Okay, okay, but you're right. It should be dressed properly, but very good, Krupa. That is exactly right. Fantastic. It gives you more, it makes you confident. Yes, you may feel that it doesn't make much difference, but only when you try it yourself, you would know what a difference it makes. So when you dress yourself completely, when you feel good about yourself, that is when your confidence comes. And yes, it indicates how we respect yourself and the HR. Correct, Lakshmi? So what happens is most of the time, many people, if not most people, they don't care to dress, they don't care to wear their proper pants or their lower half. They would be in their usual clothes on what we wear in our homes. But there is a common thing that happens. So many things can go wrong when you do things online. For example, your parents or your siblings or any person can come and interfere in the room. Many things can go online, go wrong online. But when you wear only the first half, this will happen. Can you indicate what is wrong in this picture? So this was an actual interview which happened, and this candidate was properly dressed with his shirt, tie, everything was awesome. And then he was asked to explain himself. So in that period, what happened is he got over enthusiastic and he kept his camera down and he stood up and started speaking. So now the HR, what will he do? Will his attention be towards what that person has to say? No. This person, what he did was he made a screenshot out of it, and we are using it as an example of how we are not supposed to do an interview. So this is something which will happen. So this is not just for this. First of all, it gives you enormous confidence when you dress yourself completely. It does have an impact. So first of all, that is the first reason. And second of all, you don't know when things will go wrong. You may have to stand up or you may have to sit down and we may lose ourselves. We will not be conscious all the time. So it is very important to dress yourself properly. Now imagine this person. Even if he has given the best impression, the best answers, now the HR's impression would have been completely changed, isn't it? Because he is wearing trousers, shorts, and tie and shirt. So it obviously looks very funny. So be very careful. So when you do online interviews, you must be very careful on how you look, how you present yourself, because the HR doesn't know who you are and what is your story. Hemant, that is very true. Appearance, the way you dress, it communicates a lot more than you communicate verbally. Because if you're not dressed properly, it indicates that you as a person don't respect yourself and you did not even bother to dress properly for the interview. Maybe this job is not of such an importance to you, or it can mean that you're a very lazy person. Nobody wants to hire a lazy person. So it can indicate a lot of things. You may be a really good person on the inside, but the HR is meeting you for the first time. So only in that 5 to 10 minutes of time, the HR is going to make an impression and he will make a decision whether to hire you or not. So it is very, very important to make sure that we dress properly. We have to showcase yourself that we are a professional person. So for that, we'll have to dress professionally and behave professionally. Okay. So lots of things happen online, and you know what I'm talking about. Lots of things happen in online classes and so many things. So be very, very careful. Please dress properly. Now, this process of dressing properly and how you behave with others, it is not just makes an impact in your personal interview. And before that, and if you know how a usual interview process works, you would know what I'm talking about. Okay, in any interview process, how many rounds do you have? Generally, you would have from 3 to 4 to 5. So, what is the first round? Anyone? Does anyone have any idea on how an interview process works? So, the first round usually is an aptitude test, and the second round, you would have something called as group discussion. Generally, not always, but commonly. Now, the entire purpose of a group discussion is it is not just for your communication. There are a lot of things that goes on, but one important parameter which is evaluated is your body language and how you behave with others. So these two are interconnected, and which is why it is given so much of importance in a GD. So you may be really knowledgeable or you may be really fluent in English, but communication is not just about your fluency in English. It is about making the other person to understand your point of view and being able to lead a team from this. So in a group discussion, is body language really important? Yes, very important, because for example, usually what happens is, so in a group discussion, you know what happens, a topic is given and you're supposed to speak about it. But most of the time, what happens is, when a topic is given, it generally becomes a debate, whether they want it or not. So of course, when you have different people in a group, everybody is going to have their own points of view and perspectives. So it is going to end up in an argument. So when that happens, what happens is, subconsciously, we tend to do something which we are not aware that we are doing. For example, let's say a person is going to give a very irrelevant point. You know that the person is not giving a strong point at all. You know that the person is wrong. So even if you know that the person is wrong, you are not supposed to look up or look down or behave in a way that is disrespecting that person's point of view. So you must remember that a HR is watching you, so you must be in your best behavior. So what does body language has to do with it? So generally what happens is, when a class is very interesting, what happens? We generally lean forward. At the same time, if a class is boring, what is our usual pose? We lay back, we spread our legs, and we look up. We play with our pens, pencils. So all these are very bad gestures, because the HR will be watching every single thing. It is not about what you speak, your body language. So you're supposed to sit straight and nod when a person is speaking and look them in the eye. Eye contact. These are the basics. So in a group discussion, whether it is an argument or not, whatever it is very important to remain calm and composed so that your body language is proper. So whether it is a group discussion or personal interview, the way you and the way you behave, very important. Now, any idea who these people are? So if you know them, just type your answers, or you can just unmute and speak. Have you seen them anywhere? Okay, maybe the person on the right, not so much. But who is the person on the left? He is kind of famous. Okay, maybe if I give you a clue, you would know who is he. But anyway, any idea? Okay, Muhammad Samiuddin. Correct, very good. He is John F. Kennedy. Fantastic. Any idea on who the person is on the right? Okay, his name is Nixon, and this picture was taken during the 1960s presidential debate. So you know that in US, whenever there is this candidate for president is going on, they usually have a debate. So recently you might have seen, or you might have heard about the debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So this happened in the 1960s, and this shows us a very important lesson on why body language is so important. So what has happened is, during this debate, John F. Kennedy was having very good posture, gestures, the way he spoke, the way he carried himself, everything was top notch, and it was a good debate. And Nixon, he was also very good in all the arguments he made, and so many people even felt that it was Nixon who. Okay, somebody is not on mute. Okay, let me just mute. Okay, cool. So many people felt that it was Nixon who made strong arguments and he was the person who was very convincing. But what happened was, it was John F. Kennedy who won the election. So what has actually happened is, Nixon was weak and tired before this debate because he was hospitalized for some sickness. So during that live debate, Nixon was having very poor body language. He felt weak, was not so good. Even though he made a lot of solid, good arguments, still the way he carried himself, the way he moved, everything was bad. So all the people who saw this live, and it was the time when TVs, television sets, was becoming popularized. So most people saw this debate. We had a TV, and before TV, what was the mainstream of communication between people? It was radios and FMs, right? So people who heard this debate in their radios, they felt that Nixon was the better candidate. So all of them were in favor of Nixon, but unfortunately, because of this invention of TV sets, most people who saw it live, they felt Kennedy was the better candidate. So debate is all about the words that you convey and the meanings that you convey, but people felt that John F. Kennedy was a stronger candidate because of his body language. So just imagine body language changed the fate of an entire nation. So it would have been Nixon if he had proper body language. So this is not just this case. So this is applicable to many scenarios. When you do something with confidence, when you present a paper or when you give a speech or for your project or whatever it is, when you have strong confidence, when you have good body language, it automatically puts you in an advantage. So people are automatically going to see you as a person in authority, a person who is competent, and before you even open your mouth, people are going to judge you. So such an importance is what body language has. So this live debate is even available in YouTube, so you can check it out later if you want to see it. So body language has costed a man his entire title of being a president. So that is what we learn from this. Now, what is this body language? It is not just about having a good posture or standing firm. It includes a lot of things. So let's see what they are. First one is kinesics. What it means is your facial expressions, your gestures, your eye movements, your postures. Now, let's say we watch a movie. We like actors who are expressive, isn't it? And there are some actors who are not expressive at all. So we would not like to watch them. So we like people who are expressive. So people who are expressive, the reason why we like them is because facial expressions, their eye movements, postures, we like what we see. So very important, it is not just about your postures. And proxemics, what does that mean? It speaks about the personal and social space we maintain with others. So when we meet somebody for the first time, it is the personal space. Now, when we meet somebody for the first time, what are we supposed to do? Yes, you can give a handshake. Can you hug them? No, not really, unless they are your close friends. So, knowing boundaries on how you deal with people, what is the space that you have, what you're supposed to have, that is called as proximus. And haptics, it means touch. The reason why we give a handshake to a person when we meet for the first time is because it symbolizes trust. When we touch someone, it instantly makes them bond with them to an extent. So, which is why when you go to a sales presentation or wherever it is, people offer handshakes because it provides instant trust. And the next one, artifactuals. So it deals with the jewelry that we wear. So many of you would have felt this. You don't even know the person, but if you see them wearing a lot of tattoos or many earrings or the way they dress or their hairstyle, we instantly don't want to speak with them or we instantly develop a hatred or dislike towards them before we even open their mouth. We know that we are not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but that is what first impression does to us. So, what are the things that we are supposed to wear to make sure that it is not offensive to anyone, depending on the situation? Very important. So, that is what artifactual is all about. And the last one is olfactory, which means it deals with the smell that we spread. And so many times this happens in a personal interview. What happens is People either they don't wear perfume at all or they overdo it. So both are bad equally. So you are supposed to smell good, at least have a pleasant smell, which is why you can use deodorant or not. So even if it's everything, again, people are not going to tell you directly, but the way we smell is also important. So which is why it is very important to shower or wear a perfume whenever you meet somebody important. So you may have the best of skills or you may have the best of marks, but in case if you smell really bad in an interview, then it indicates a lot of things. So every single thing is important. When you talk about body language, it is not just about the way you sit or stand, it includes all of this. So we must keep in mind all of this whenever we are in a professional situation. Now, apart from all of this, there is one thing which is very important, which the importance of it cannot be overstated. That is the importance of eye contact. So, why is eye contact so important? The reason eye contact is so important because it has a deep psychological factor linked with it. So, when you look at animals, we human beings are social animals. So, what happens is even in animal kingdom, when two animals meet eye to eye, the first animal to look away is seen as the weaker animal. So this is also the same when we meet people. So we don't assume that they are weak, but that is what it means. So when you meet somebody in person, a person of importance, or anyone, if you're not able to maintain proper eye contact, what it means is you're not so confident. So when you're not so confident, when you look away, it instantly, before you even open your mouth, it creates an impression on the other person's mind. So eye contact is not just for that. There are a lot of reasons why you're supposed to make eye contact on where it is so effective. So let us see where they are. So first of all, whenever you speak information, this is very simple, but we know we are supposed to maintain eye contact. But the problem is when people talk in a GD, a group discussion, or when you're giving a speech to your class, or when you're explaining your project or a seminar or whatever it is, we are supposed to look at the entire audience. If you are not going to look at people when you speak, you will not be able to maintain their attention. And again, it shows that you're not really confident. And people won't be inclined to listen to you in the first place. And the same thing goes for group discussion. When people talk, they usually look at the HR. You're supposed to discuss with yourself. So wherever it is, whatever you speak, eye contact, very important because this comprises or this is perhaps the most effective thing that you can do. So whenever you speak information to a gathering or anyone, maintain eye contact, and it shows that you're interested and it shows that you're attentive. And this is also true when we speak with our friends or even in your family. When somebody is speaking, we are supposed to look at them and listen to them, isn't it? Most of the problems that comes with our cellular phones is because of this. When you're speaking to your parents or your friends, they may be annoyed because when somebody's speaking something, we are supposed to listen to them. But most of us would be indulged in our cell phones. So we'll be checking text. So even though you might be listening, you might be multiprocessing, but still the person will be annoyed because it shows that you lack attention and interest. And it is a form of inviting the other person to speak. So when a person is looking at you and they are speaking at you, so if you're not looking at them, it also indicates that you're not interested. You might be listening with your ears, but again, like the previous point, when it shows that you're not interested, you're not really inviting them to speak further. And controlling interaction, this is very true. And whenever parents or teachers or any person in authority, whenever they want to control interaction or when they want to dominate or threaten or to intimidate, one thing that is common is their eyes would be bulging and they would want us to look at them, isn't it? That is because subconsciously, when you look at a person, you cannot think of anything else, or your attention will not be anywhere. So it's a matter of controlling interaction. It is not always a bad thing, especially if you're in a group and if you want to make some points. And if you take the position of a leader should know how to handle people, the people in this group. So as a matter of controlling the interaction, eye contact is very important. And domineering, to dominate whenever somebody is in a position of superiority or if they want to make someone scared to dominate, we always look them in the eye. So you would want them to look them in your eyes if you are the person who wants to dominate. And of course, if you want to threaten them with some punishment or anything, you want to scare them, this is a common thing which parents and other people use. And to influence, yes, the main trait of a leader. So if you look at all these great speakers of our time, like Martin Luther King or Adolf Hitler or any great politician, you would see that they are good speakers. And when they are speaking, it would not just be they are speaking from a newspaper or a script, their body language, the hands, the gestures that they use. So more than the words, it is the body language which we are attracted to. So even now in YouTube, you can find a Adolf Hitler's speech. So even though we cannot understand the thing that he says, just by looking at him, we'll feel motivated. It is because of his eye contact and the body language that he conveys. So that acts as a very great influence on his people. And of course, providing feedback whenever teachers or anyone, or if you yourself are in a position where you have to give feedback, you'll have to maintain eye contact. So basically, what it means is whenever you speak to a person in real life, you're supposed to look them in the eye. So that makes the entire process better. And we always say that eyes are the windows of the soul, which means we can always tell a person on what their real intention is, what is their actual attitude. For example, a person might want to sell you something or do something, but if they mean the other thing, just by looking in their eyes, we could feel if they're telling the truth or not. So this also is very true. And this is the same thing which if a person lies, you will not be able to maintain eye contact, will be looking here and there. So it always reveals your attitude as well. So eye contact has such a huge amount of benefits. So out of all the body language things that you're supposed to do, this is perhaps the most important one. So don't forget it. Now we'll see some common do's and don'ts. Now this is very true. Now of course we cannot become a star speaker or have a perfect body language overnight. It all comes with practice and experience. So yes, it is important to have eye contact, but the problem is sometimes we overdo it, we stare. So we are not supposed to stare because that is really rude. You don't want to freak people out. You want to show that you're confident and you're interested. That's it. So obvious, don't stare. Now nod once in a while to signal that you're listening. Now some of us overdo it and some of us don't do this at all. So when you nod when somebody is speaking, it shows that you're listening and it motivates them to speak. It invites them to speak. So always nod once in a while and don't cross your arms. Now, when you cross your arms, what does that mean? From my childhood, I had this habit. I used to cross my arms now and then. Now, the problem with crossing your arms is it can be interpreted in so many ways. So, the first, cross your arms, it can mean that you're very defensive, you're in a closed position, you don't want to listen, or you might be very confident. Crossing your arms can even indicate confidence, but the problem is it is open to many interpretations. That is why you should never cross your arms, especially when you are in a setup you're supposed to speak, because of so many interpretations. So remember to don't cross your arms, and not being afraid to take up some space. What does it mean? Now, especially in a GD setup or any meeting, and if you're new, what happens is a person with very low self-esteem, he will not take much space, which means if you have a chair to sit, you might occupy only the front part of your chair. You might not sit comfortably. Your legs might be in a closed position. So you have to be very conscious on how your body language is. because internally, however you feel, your body language will show it outside. So you can take up your space, but not too much. Don't sit on how you would sit in your homes, like spreading your legs and spreading your arms. No, that's very bad. You must be respectful of other people's boundaries and space and positions. So don't be afraid to take up some space. You can take what is yours and relaxing your shoulders. Whenever we are nervous, you might have observed this. First of all, you might have trouble breathing properly. And next is our shoulders might be very stiff. So what happens is you yourselves will look very awkward and the position on the way you sit will also be affected. So it should be relaxed and don't slouch, sit straight. Now, what does that mean? Slouching means when we sit somewhere for a prolonged period of time, what happens is we begin to slouch, that is moving forward or a bit backwards. So, again, that is very bad. You're supposed to sit straight, which indicates that you're eager to listen and not both. And final one, this is something which we do unconsciously, that is consciously without even realizing that we're doing it. Just two things. One is we play with our pens or pencils, especially when we are nervous, and we touch our face a lot often. So touching your nose and eyes, that is very common. And you should not do it because again, it indicates that you're not so confident. So don't touch your face often. In case you have an itch somewhere, you can do it by using a handkerchief or at times it's fine, but most of the time it's very bad, makes you look weak, and keeping your head up. So this is very true. Now, for some of us, this may have become a habit because if you are a person who walks without uh, looking straight, what happens is it showcases that we are not so confident. So always keep your head up. Only then you'll be able to maintain eye contact as well. Very important. And finally, don't fidget. So this is exactly what I meant by not playing with your pens or pencils. So fidget means when you spin your pencils or pens, yes, it is fun when we do it with ourselves, but not in a professional setup. That is very bad. And finally, keeping a good attitude. So mentally, if you feel good, mentally, if you feel confident, automatically your body language is going to reflect that. And the opposite is also true as well. Even if you don't feel so good, if you maintain a good posture, if you maintain good eye contact and such, it will also make you feel good. So it works both ways. So this is it. So we'll do some common exercises. We are done with the class. So can you tell me the exact name of the facial expression the first picture shows? So when you talk to someone and if they look at you like this, what does that indicate?
Confused.
Confused? Okay, correct. Okay, but her face is more like
Irritated.
irritated. Yes, perfect. Irritated or repelled or disgust. So understanding facial clues, that is also important. All these are quite simple. So this is disgust and this is boredom. Perhaps this is how most of you usually look, and this is surprise. And to indicate confusion, you put your hands on your heads. Now, all of this know it. The reason I'm showing this is because it might be an itch in your head, or it might be some other reason. We might have developed a habit of scratching our heads, and that might indicate to the speaker that you're not really understanding anything the person speaks. So that is the problem. So internally we might feel something, but externally, if your body language is going to tell a different story, that is the problem. So you must be aware of what expression you're giving and what the other person might interpret. Okay, what is the last one? He looks very focused, determined. Yes,
Focusing.
correct, correct, perfect. And this obviously this indicates joy, and this person is sad, and this
Sad.
person is angry. Perfect. Now these are all easy. Now let's do some positions. Okay, what does this first picture look like? If you look like this in a meeting or something, what does it indicate?
Some thinking.
Yes, you could be thinking, Again, it could be boredom, or might be thinking about some problems in your home. Yes, so many things. Okay, that's right. So it could be worried or bored. The last one, any idea who that person is? The person on the right. Ruchika, yes, correct. Okay, who's the person on the right? Yes, he is Barack Obama, and that is a position of confidence, to indicate confidence. Yes, he's standing the statue of Superman.
So video is not visible.
Okay, cool. So, all right, we have come to the end of the session. So, even though we had some problems here and there, yes, that indicates confidence. So, I wanted to do something. So, the next morning, tomorrow, when you wake up from your beds, the first thing that you do, without even opening your eyes, try smiling for no reason. You can even do that now for some 5 to 10 seconds. You will feel that you automatically feel good. You feel relaxed and you feel much better. So, which is why body language, it is not about how you showcase to other people, the way you feel within yourselves is also affected. So, common practices like walking straight, having proper eye contact, it will make you believe in yourself more, and you will see that people react to you in favor of you than on how they would react when you had not so good body language. So these are the reasons why nonverbal communication is very important. So I hope you gain some value out of this class. And if you have any questions, you can ask. And thank you so much for being such good people, even though we had some trouble in the beginning. Thank you for your responses. You're very attentive.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, you can ask away, or else I guess we can call it.
Thank you, sir.